In the last stream, we were working on kind of massively upgrading our ore processing system with the crushing multi-blocks from immersive engineering and with the upgrade to cinnabar over rich slag, giving us effectively a 52.5x ore multiplying system. So for every single iron ore or copper ore or aluminum ore that we put into one of these drawers, we get on average 52.5 ingots out. Obviously, it's going to vary a little bit because you can't get exactly 52.5 ingots, but one time it'll go through, you'll get 51, the next time it'll go through, you'll get 53, and it averages out to 52.5, but we're getting over 50 ingots per ore, which is great. And so the plan for today's stream is hopefully going to be to kind of finalize the production chain here by getting our infinity miners, both tier 1 and tier 2, automated so that we can automate the production of iron ore, copper ore, and then let me check the tier 2 miner. I know it can make lead, and so if I click this here and go to the infinity miner, we're going to make iron, copper, gold, tin, silver, lead, and nickel, along with the nether quartz as well. That's the plan for today. If we can get all of those automated, that's going to be basically all of these fully automated without the need for miners all around the world. The only things that we won't then have automated are platinum and aluminum. Aluminum is doable using an infinity miner. It's just a little bit trickier because it requires a constant supply of blazing pyrotheum, which is a liquid that we've not yet unlocked, and in fact is unlocked down here. So it's definitely doable, and is something we will do at some point in the not-so-distant future, but I'm not too sure if we're going to get it up and running today. Between streams, I've built a kind of replication of the building that we have over in the distance there for our deep mob learning setup, and I've moved the first infinity miner that we made a few episodes back over into this building, and the plan, of course, today is to build at least one more, so we can have one making copper and iron, and another making the lead, the gold, the tin, etc. So, to do that, we need to unlock the research for the tier 2 infinity drill, and for that, we need 32 lots of 64 logistics research, 16 lots of 64 mechanics research, 16 lots of 8 production research, and 32 utility research. It's quite an expensive unlock, but I think it's definitely going to be worth it. So we'll start with the logistics. That's easy enough. And then moving on to the mechanics is where we run into a problem because we need 16 and we have 13. So we are actually a little light on mechanics research currently. Between streams, I did go ahead and add a few more researchers to the mechanics line. So down here, we've now got 2 more researchers working on mechanics. They're currently not upgraded. They're currently just using the regular gearboxes, but they are chugging away, making more mechanics research for us. We're completely backed up on copper coil blocks and steel gears to the point where now we actually have a surplus of steel in basically every one of these drawers. So the 6 blast furnaces that we have are now producing way more than enough steel. We're just not able to use it fast enough because our researchers here are not quick enough, or we don't have enough of them to fully utilize that. Hopefully, we will slowly but surely over the course of this episode get up to that 16x64 that we need to get that tier 2 infinity drill. But while we wait for that, there are 2 things I think we should do. The first thing that I think we should do is potentially look at putting maybe a couple of speed upgrades into these last 2, just to kind of kickstart and accelerate a little bit the speed of production for mechanics research. We do currently have 6 tier 1 speed upgrades in here, and we also did unlock the research to make the next tier of speed upgrades as well, that being these guys. They don't seem too expensive. We need 4 machine casing, 4 emeralds, and a reinforced upgrade kit. The reinforced upgrade kits really aren't too bad. Let me make 8 redstone blocks here, and that should be enough to make 4 of these, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then the only other things we need are, of course, the machine casing, which is super easy, just modularium and copper. And then finally, we need emeralds, which we don't have, but we can get from the shulker data model here. And so, much like we've been doing previously with the chorus route over here from the zombie data model, we can temporarily swap our shulker data model to producing emeralds. And once we have enough, which I now realize is 16 and not 12, there we go, we should then have everything to make 4 of these. This is definitely not going to be a permanent setup because of the fact that this is just, again, it's not worth it. It's always better to just build more researchers, but for the time being, I don't really want to have to build multiple more researchers. It's going to be a bit quicker just for us to throw these down as a temporary measure. And while we wait for the mechanics research to come in, the other thing that I would like to work on in today's episode is oil. So now that we have unlocked the utility research and we have it being made, we can start working on oil production, and oil is kind of a key resource for the next chapter of the pack. If we take a look at chemical research here, it's made from pyrotheum dust, advanced plating, and plastic frame. The plastic frame is made from, I believe, plastic plates and plastic rods, and the plastic, I believe, is basically entirely made from oil that we process through a line of machines. So we need to pump out quite a bit of oil, and to do that, we need the fluid pump components here, and I don't know if we currently have those unlocked. I don't believe we do. That's because there is yet another piece of research that we have to unlock, and that is this one right here. It does require a bit more mechanics, but it's not too much. I think it's 256 in total, and we do currently have 910, so it is going to slow us down a little bit on the path to unlocking that Infinity Miner Tier 2, but I think it's worth it, and I think we can work on setting oil up while we wait for the rest of the mechanics to come in. So a little bit more of the production research, and then, of course, finally, just 16 of the utility research, which we actually have, I think, more of now than production. Yeah, we got way more than production. The reason for that is that we still are not actually like outputting the aluminum here. It's just kind of sitting in the redstone furnace. For now, I'm going to go ahead and turn this back on because we are definitely going to need more production, and just stopping it entirely is maybe not the best idea. But we, at some point, fairly soon might have to look at getting even more aluminum ore, even if it means getting another miner down in another chunk somewhere. Either way, now that we have this unlocked, we get the blueprint for the pump jack, which I don't know if that is going to be necessary because the quest book here wants us to make 27 fluid pump components. These are made with aluminum gears, machine frames, fluid pumps, and drill components. Basically, all of this stuff is stuff that we've made previously, and in fact, the drill components, while we don't have any in our inventory, we do have, I think, a couple of drills around right now that are not actually doing anything. Like this drill right here, I think is just kind of sitting around doing nothing, and so I'm fairly certain that we can just break this and use these drill components in the production of the fluid pump as opposed to making new ones. So really the only thing we're missing is 3 fluid pumps here, which is not going to be difficult. We need more fluid pipes. Easy enough. I'm hoping we have enough iron plates to make this happen. I think we should. 1, 2, and 3. Perfect. And boom, we get a fluid pump. Now, the quest book is specific, in all caps at the top here. Warning, the fluid pump must be placed on smooth stone to work. Now, this is Minecraft 1.12, and so I'm pretty sure that smooth stone is just stone. That's this stone right here. You can't smelt stone into smooth stone in this version of Minecraft, so when they say smooth stone, I think they mean just this stone right here. So I'm pretty sure that what we need to do here is place this down and then build the fluid pump on top of it. Now, it says, with aluminum, I can start working on oil. I'll need to unlock the research for it in the power tab, which will give me access to the means of drilling for it along with a generator to burn it. I can find deep oil wells using the Factorio seismic reader with a bucket of oil inside to read for it. Interesting, but that doesn't tell me how I get the initial bucket of oil, because I don't think there's an easy way to just get crude oil. Never mind, I am completely blind. The reward for this quest is a bucket of crude oil, and so we do need 27 of these fluid pump components. Interesting. I thought we just needed 9. That is not the case. We do need to get many more of these. So I need to get at least 6 more of those fluid pumps. That should be fine. How many iron plates do we have? We got 12. That's not a ton. We, of course, do have our engineer's hammer, and we do have a ton of iron, which is very nice indeed. And so we should be able to make this work pretty easily. Let me get some copper as well. And let's see if we can't make 2 more batches of these fluid pump components to get the 27 we need to actually build the multi-block. All right, so 6 fluid pumps later, that should be everything for this. Oh, of course, we're missing 1 machine frame. That should be fine because we can now request a machine frame be crafted using our integrated dynamic system. Also, a few episodes back, I did request that 20 sequential fabricators be made for me. Those, I'm happy to report, have been created. And so we can go ahead and throw these down in this room here, because we are going to be using these at some point in the not-so-distant future to automate the little tier 2 mining widget, this guy right here, the mining drone, because we do need an unlimited amount of those to actually run the tier 2 infinity drill. All right, not too long later, the machine frame is done, and I've put down a bunch more sequential fabricators, and so now that should be everything that we need to make the final set of fluid pump components. Nice. Okay, cool. So inside of the seismic reader, we should be able to place our bucket of oil and get an idea as to where the oil is. And the good news is that the locations that do have oil, they've got a lot of oil. They've got like 3 million millibuckets of oil there, which is very nice indeed. So we have like some below us and some above us, nothing really like where the base is, which I guess is good. It means we don't have to move anything to find the oil. I think I'm going to go with the area up here though, just because it's going to be easier than trying to deforest the area further down. All right, so the chunk that we are in does have oil, but there's more oil in the chunk ahead of us. So I think I will go here. And then I assume that this is a 3x3x3, given that we've been given 27 components. And it does specify that it has to be on smooth stone. So my assumption is that we can do something like this. Drop down some smooth stone, like that, and then build a 3x3x3 out of these fluid pump component blocks. Apparently not. Hey, okay, that does work. I had to break and replace one. I don't think it liked that I used the diamond wand to do it. So if you use your wand to build it, just break one block and replace it, and it will work just fine. And so now it's just a case of giving this power, which of course we can do with our handy-dandy omnidirectional connectors, along with an energy exporter. We are going to have to make that into an energy exporter because right now it's just an energy interface. That is completely fine. We'll do that, and we've already got variable cards on us. I don't know if it matters at all where we put the power. Like, I think the power can go into any of the sides. Just for the aesthetics of it, I think I'm going to do something like this and kind of put it right on the top, of course, with the omnidirectional connector, like that, and then boom, and yep, that's filling up with power, and it's also filling up with crude oil. Nice. So now we just need to pump that out, which, again, we can actually just do with the integrated dynamic system, right? Because now we do have the ability to make the fluid interface, which we already have. And so if I put the fluid interface down, I think just anywhere, I think that probably is connected because it's part of the 3x3x3 block. You can see, even though the texture doesn't look like it, I'm fairly certain that's connected. And so now, if we were to go and, yeah, place a fluid exporter onto a machine, it would be able to export the crude oil that is stored in here. And it looks like this can hold probably like 50 buckets worth, maybe, of crude oil, maybe 60 buckets worth, something like that. So essentially now, we need to get oil refining. For that, we need a fractionating still, and this is a distillation tower. I don't know if we need both of these. It says oil is a great source of power, but it has way too many impurities in it to burn clearly. I should be able to refine it, however, to run more efficiently. There are two options, the fractionating still or the distillation tower. The former will get me better fuel, but the latter is necessary to create plastic. I see. So we actually do need both. Or at least we only need the one. We need the fractionating still. We don't need the oil refining unless we're going to use the oil to make power, which right now I don't think is particularly necessary, but at some point in the not-so-distant future, it definitely is going to be necessary, although it looks like the quest book wants us to go this way either way. Let me have a look at the recipe for the fractionating still, because I don't think it's going to be that expensive, although it looks like, once again, that is another bit of research we have to unlock, and it's 64 times 8 mechanics this time, which is pretty expensive for something that I'm not even too sure we're going to need. Let me go quickly check on how much mechanics research we've got. Are we anywhere near close to the 16x that we need for the Infinity Miner? We're not. We're back down at 12 again, really, which I think is where we left it before. And we're also at the point now where we actually don't have enough production research either for the oil, which is unfortunate. Production research should start coming in somewhat quickly, but yeah, right now we just don't have it. Do I have the recipe for plastic unlocked now? Do I know what plastic is? I do. Okay, cool. So now that we've unlocked oil, we have figured out that this is a plastic frame, and it's made from... Oh, we haven't figured out, like, the plastic ingot, but we have figured out the fluid that is plastic. Okay, so in this scenario, plastic is made by combining together ethylene and oxygen in a chemical reactor and or a salt mixer. I guess either one will do. And the oxygen, I assume we get from an electrolyzer that takes water and turns it into a hydrogen and oxygen. The ethylene is, I assume, what we get from oil. So here we can combine hydrogen and naphtha. Again, the hydrogen you can get from the electrolyzer. The naphtha, this is where the distillation tower comes in. I see, okay. For the distillation tower, we put in the crude oil and we get gasoline, naphtha, and lubricant, and then there's also a chance of getting bitumen as well. So we are going to have to set up that distillation tower, I do wonder, the projector here is definitely like craftable, and the projector allows us to visualize the distillation tower to make it easier to build. The only thing we're missing here is just a lantern, and the only thing we're missing for the lantern is a block of glowstone, along with, I think, 2 glass panes. We should have loads of glass, we totally do, and so I'll make 16 glass panes, 1 regular old set of lanterns, and then 1 projector, and that in and of itself doesn't complete the quest, but I can craft with the engineer's manual to visualize this. This is the multi-block that we're building. It's quite large, but if we craft the book, which is currently on this page, with the projector, it gives us the distillation tower projector, which I was hoping might trigger this to complete. Displays instructions for making a distillation tower 4x16x4. That is what we have here. Either way, this thing is massive, by the way. I don't know if you can quite tell because I can't quite see the top of it, but this thing is real big, and we're going to have to place that down somewhere. In the book, it does tell us what we need for it, and so let me see if I can't get the required items. We need steel scaffolding, steel slabs, fluid pipes, redstone engineering blocks, heavy engineering blocks, and iron sheet metal. That all seems pretty doable, especially given that we do have an excess of steel currently. Okay, so not too long later, and we have all of the items required to make the distillation tower. It wasn't particularly expensive. We've done basically everything here before. One thing I have noticed, I was looking here, the 2 speed upgrades that we put on the final 2 mechanics research, these are pretty good. They make the whole system a lot faster, and in fact, having 2 tier 2 speed upgrades on 1 researcher makes that 1 researcher as fast as 4 normal researchers. Of course, it uses 4 times as much power, which in this case isn't too bad because it's already using just 20 redstone flux per tick, so it only goes up to 80 on both of these. But effectively now, because these 2 together count as 8 researchers, and we already have 6 going down, we are just not producing the copper coil blocks fast enough. Over here, this machine is way too slow, and so I was checking over at the end here, and these were empty. I've manually moved some over for now to keep it going, but you'll see here, this is empty, and this one is barely full. These are the 2 that I stole from. And so, before we go and build the distillation tower, it is probably going to be a good idea to maybe look at replacing probably both of these machines with sequential fabricators. We do still have a few left because the wall was full, and I have more in my inventory. And so, I think what we'll do is we'll just kind of swap both of these out for sequential fabricators and see about making this just a fair bit faster. I think the conduits are going to remember their configuration. Let me just kind of move this. You do get a bit of an FOV reduction when you use the carry-on mod. Yeah, they totally do. Nice. Okay, so up here, we're just going to get another pattern validation augment. Again, to make sure that nothing kind of fills up all of the slots. Without the pattern validation augment, and we're out of tin, eh? No tin at all? That is not ideal. We got a little bit of tin ore, which we can run through kind of one of the processing lines, I guess. Maybe like this one here, if we quickly steal some... but even that's not going to work because of the crusher. I guess I can put it in here. It's not the most efficient use of tin ore, especially when we could 50x a lot of this stuff. But, oh, I guess we also just don't have tin on our processing line, which is probably the big reason why this is a problem. We should definitely get tin added. For the time being, we do only need, like, 2 tin gears. And so, 1 and 2, that is going to be enough to get us 2 pattern validation augments. But we definitely need to add tin somewhere to this line, whether it's a new processor or whether we like hijack, aluminum or something and try and add tin to it. Tin is definitely going to need to be added somewhere along the line. For now, though, back over here, let's get down the pattern validation augment, like so. And then in here, we are just going to make those copper coil blocks, these guys right here. Shift-click that in and tick. Thankfully, we do have power right next to this, so we can just go boom and boom, like that. That should give power to the sequential fabricator, and then we'll make sure that basically all of the sides, apart from the back, are set to input, and the back is going to be set to output. And that should work significantly faster. Again, I think the next problem is going to be this guy. It's not quite as bad because it does make 4 at a time, but I think it is going to be worth swapping that out as well for yet another sequential fabricator. This time, I think we probably want to have it facing this way because we need to insert from the left. And so this time we're basically going to insert on all sides that are not the top, and we're going to output on the top, and we're going to make yet another pattern validation augment to make sure we don't end up with too much stuff in any of the slots. Boom. And this time we just want to teach this how to make the copper coil themselves. We could, of course, make this more efficient. Now that we do have treated wood coming in automatically, there is the option here of, instead of exporting sticks, exporting treated sticks, which might not be a bad idea, you know. If we quickly grab a variable card, we can go recipe, and we can go treated sticks, and we can shift-click that in with the variable card. And then we can take that recipe, and we can, of course, add it to one of our crafting tables over here, like so. And then from there, right now, I assume that one of these item conduits, it's probably on the bottom actually, is exporting sticks to this thing. Yeah, if we kind of just get rid of that and don't have that exporting sticks at all, we could instead throw down an item exporter from Integrated Dynamics, drop that down right about here with a cable connected to it like that, and then we could run the cable all the way over there, but again, the omnidirectional connectors are really not that expensive, and so I am going to be quite liberal with my usage of them. We can throw that down right about here, and then if we take another card and we just say export treated sticks, do we have any treated sticks in here? We totally do, nice. If we take those, we'll create a new item card for treated sticks, boom, and boom, and then we're going to put that in here under export item, and of course we want to make sure that crafting is set to true. And that way, if there are ever not treated sticks in here, of course we do set this to input on the right, this way we're going to change the recipe to treated sticks, but now, if there are not treated sticks in here, the system should make treated sticks and export them, ideally. Let me see if that is actually going to work. There we go, okay, so now the tick's been clicked, the treated sticks being made. If we go and look over in here, we should see treated sticks being scheduled to be crafted. There they are, perfect. And so yeah, now it's going to use the treated wood to more effectively use the copper and produce them even faster, because you get 8 per craft as opposed to 4, which does increase the speed at which these copper coil blocks come in. And so now really the next limiting factor is the metal press, but I think for the time being, this is probably fine and hopefully producing them faster than all of these machines can use them. Again, temporarily, just to make sure that we don't have any kind of slowdown, I am going to do this and this just to make sure we're maximizing the production of mechanics research, and currently we are on 16 out of 64. Would you look at that? We actually have enough to unlock the Infinity Miner. Perfect. Okay, cool. So, now that that's taken care of, let's get rid of both of these. And before we go to build the Infinity Miner, let me quickly see about building this Distillation Tower, which I might actually put in the middle of this platform here. That gives us space for another boiler on this side to double up to 20,000 redstone flux per tick, and it also gives us a nice amount of space for this boiler. So if we take the projector, I kind of want this to be dead center. Let me find the dead center, and then let me right-click the projector down, and I believe the way the projector works is that it's going to just kind of show us layer by layer what we have to put down. I think this here is the perfect center, and so just to remind me, I'll do this, and then we'll take this, and this is a 4x4, right? Which is a little awkward, because it means it doesn't actually have a center. You'll see it kind of goes on the left or the right. So I guess what I'll do actually then is I'll put it like here, I think, because that gives me the possibility of building another one here in the future while still leaving room for a boiler in the future. In fact, I might even take it one step further. I might even move it back to like here. That way we have the possibility of making 4 of them. I don't know if we're going to need 4 of them. I'm not quite sure how many of these we're going to need, but just on the off chance we need like a lot of them, I think it's better to prepare for that than to assume we won't need many. Because if this pack has taught me anything, it's that we need a lot of every machine that we build. All right, and there we go. We have the Distillation Tower. Once you got it all down, the outline will turn green, the projector telling you it's done, and then you just right-click on the redstone engineering block with the engineer's hammer, and it forms into a big old multi-block that is now capable of taking in oil. I think you can also put oil buckets in here, and turning it into the substances we saw before. Now, I don't think we can actually use this until we unlock the oil processing questline. You'll see that we do actually get the Distillation Tower projector that we just made as a reward for that. So right now we can't actually unlock that until we get 64 lots of 8x mechanics and also 16 lots of 8x production, which I think is going to have to be something that we wait until next episode to unlock. We got 15 lots of 8x in here, and we got 11 lots of 8x in there, so we are getting there fairly quickly, actually, but we're a ways away from 64 lots of 8x. That is fine, though, because now we can pivot back to what I was working on at the start of the episode, and that is, of course, getting these Infinity miners online. So, now that we have this research down here unlocked, we should be able to craft these guys, the mining drones. These are important because in order to make these tier 2 ores, things like gold, tin, silver, nickel, lead, and nether quartz, we need to supply the Infinity Miner with a constant supply of mining drones. You'll see right here it says the consumption chance is 5%, which means that most of the time, this won't get used, right? 95% of the time, this will just keep going, keep making ores, and nothing will happen. But 1 in every 20 times, the mining drone will get used, and so we kind of need to set up auto-crafting for the mining drone so that we can keep crafting and keep sending those mining drones to the Infinity Miner to make sure that it never stops. Before we do that, let's see about getting another Infinity Miner. That should just be a case of crafting another one of these capsules, which, if memory serves me right, weren't too difficult to make. We need another core sample drill, easy enough, and we also need an Infinity Miner core, which is just another 9 drill components. Again, this might be one of those situations where we can steal a pre-existing drill. We've got one here that is working. That one was making platinum for us. We did make a mistake here, by the way, and I've not rectified it. I put down an item interface, and because I put down an item interface and not like an item importer, it's basically treated this like a place where it can put ores, which is not ideal because there's likely still platinum in here that we're not mining. What I probably want to do is just set the priority on this to be like much lower. If I set it to like -10, I think at that point I can probably take a lot of this out and just dump it back in the system, and it shouldn't end up back in here, although it is ending up back in there, which makes me think that there's a possibility that back over in our main base area, we might be completely full on basically all of our chests. We're not, which is interesting. This one here is not full, although the next option is that maybe, I don't know if the priority in integrated dynamics works in such a way that the lower the priority, the sooner it goes there, or the higher the priority, the sooner it goes there. Also, it seems like the priority is reset, because I didn't press save. Okay, -10, save. Okay, so now this is set to a lower priority. Let me try that again. I'll take those out. I'll put this back in. And yeah, that works completely fine. Okay, cool. So, in fact, a lot of the copper here can go straight into the copper drawer that is above the crusher, because there's a ton of space in here now for even more copper ore. And then basically everything else wants to go back into our main chest setup. It's not a perfect solution. It does mean that eventually if we fill up basically all of the rest of the drawers, all the rest of the chests, that stuff will start going there, but I think it's kind of the best solution that we have at the moment, outside of actively pulling all of the ores into the system, which we don't want to do just yet, because right now we've not actually set up the system to send those ores anywhere. However, one of the things we are going to do, I guess, now that we're working on the Infinity Miner, is set up exporters on all of these ores to actually send the ores where they need to go once they've been made by the Infinity Miner. So let's see then if we can't get that Infinity Miner, right? For that, I am going to go ahead and steal one of these 2 drills, because I don't think we need both of them running at the moment. This one back here was mining lead, and again, lead is not going to be needed once we get that Infinity drill up and running. So we'll take all of these and the solar panel. It's a shame we can't downcraft those solar panels now, because it would be quite nice to be able to use them to make the tier 1 solar panels for the mining drones. But either way, put you away, and that should be everything for the Infinity Miner core and another Infinity Miner. Nice. Back in here, I'm going to put that down right about there. Good stuff. And so now we need to do a few things. We need to put a drill in one of these. I think the invar drill is what we want for all of these ores. If we look at gold ore, for example, we could use the steel drill, which uses 5,000 RF per tick and takes 500,000 RF total, or we can use the invar drill, which uses the same 5,000 RF per tick, which is very expensive, but only takes 250,000 RF per tick total. So definitely worth investing in the invar drill head there. Over here, we're going for iron and copper, which I think is where we wanted to use the diamond drill head, which I probably put away between episodes. That's fine. We'll put that back in like so. And then we now need to export fluids to the huge fluid input hatches. For that, we want to get some fluid exporters. And I can't remember actually if we put a fluid interface on the aerothium. I don't think that we did. I think we only have a fluid interface currently on the jellied cryothium. So over here, yeah, I moved the fluid pipe between episodes. So we used to have a fluid pipe going up through the floor to the Infinity Miner. When I tore the Infinity Miner down, I also tore out some of the conduits that were connecting it up. But now, back over here, what we want to do is get a fluid interface onto this magma crucible. And I guess we don't need 2 lots of energy cables going here. So if we get rid of that, we should be able to put the fluid interface on that side. But that's not going to work because of the fact that we need... I don't think that works, although let me try. If I put that there, I'm pretty sure that's not going to work because it's not an output side. Never mind, it totally does have access to 10 buckets of aerothium. I thought it would have to go on a side that had the orange output, but it looks like that is not the case, which is perfect because it means that we can do, I guess, something like this and then run this up like that. That does mean we're going to have to run the energy conduit a little lower down to get under that, but that is not going to be a problem. We've got more than enough energy conduit to make that happen. And so now, if we go back over to the other side, we should be able to use another one of our omnidirectional connectors to connect both of these guys up with fluid exporters. And of course, the final piece of the puzzle we need is a bucket of the aerothium. So let me quickly steal that out of the magma crucible, like so. And then back over on the other side, let's see if we can't get this all set up. So we're going to do export here and export here. And then I think we'll just run the cable kind of up and along the top like this between the 2 infinity miners. We do, of course, need more logic cable, as we seemingly always do. I feel like I make multiple stacks per episode, and yet somehow we always need more. Once we have more, though, we can run this all the way along, like so. And for now, I'll put this right about here, like that. That's going to connect that up to the system. And then back in here, we can do something like this. Click on fluid, put in the aerothium, take out the card, do the exact same to get the exact same secondary card. And then we're going to put both of those in here, export fluid, and here, export fluid. Nice. So I think all the fluid might have gone here. Oh, no, it didn't. So this isn't exporting, and I think it's due to the fact that we didn't put the interface on an output side. So I think that the interface knows, like this interface here, knows that there is 10 buckets of aerothium in the magma crucible, but I don't think it's able to pull it out because it's not connected to an output side. I think that's the trouble that we're running into here. It's a fixable problem, though. It just means we have to move the connection. And in fact, the easiest solution here might just be to move it to the bottom. If we set the bottom to output, like that, and we just quickly move this guy down to the bottom like that, I think we can then reconnect that up with logic cable here, and then now that should be emptying out. It totally is. And over on the other side, we should see both of the new infinity miners filling up with the aerothium. Nice, we've got 6 buckets in here and 6 buckets in here. Cool. So we can continue the trend here. We can get an energy output and put that on the top of both of these. Right now we just have energy interfaces. That is fine. I need 2 energy exporters. One of those is going to go here, and one, of course, is going to go all the way on the other side like that. Both of these do need just 1 variable card inside of them. Boom. And boom. And then the final piece of the puzzle, really, for this guy is the drone, right? Because this is going to work. This is going to produce copper and iron. I do wonder, in here, there is the option for round robin. It's set to false. If I set that to true, I'm hopeful that that will work on all these. I'm going to set this to true as well. I don't know if that's going to work, but I'm hoping that kind of gives both of these an even distribution of the aerothium so that it doesn't all get burned making iron and copper. But over here, we now need to export those mining drones, which of course we don't currently have. And so now we need to head back over to here and kind of just teach our system how to craft those mining drones, which is mostly going to be a case of typing in mining drone into JEI and just encoding all these recipes. It shouldn't be too difficult, really, because our system already knows how to make machine frames. We already have glass. The solar panels are not too difficult. They're mostly kind of basic recipes. None of them are too difficult here. The only tricky part could be the daylight sensor because it requires nether quartz, and we don't currently have an unlimited supply of nether quartz, but ideally, the whole point of the Infinity Miner Tier 2 is that it's going to get us a constant supply of nether quartz that we can then feed back into the system and use to get even more mining drones going forward, which then gets us even more nether quartz, right? All right, so a little bit of craft teaching later, and I think we're good to go. So I just taught the induction smelter how to make Constant 10. I taught the compactor here how to make the Constant 10 gear, because that's required down here at the bottom. Over here, I taught this crafting table how to make the mirrors, the copper coil blocks, the copper solenoids, the redstone servos, and the oak wood slabs. That's basically everything for the copper coil blocks. You know, it's for the solenoids, the mirrors here, the slabs were for the daylight sensor. The daylight sensor has also been taught. And then the only recipes over here that were required were the copper wire. This is a gated recipe, and so I did have to do this here. That has been taught here. Over here, we've got the recipe for the solar panel, tier 1, that's taught here. And then in here, we have the recipe for the mining drone itself, which is taught here. So I think, if I'm not mistaken, that we have now taught everything for the mining drone. And so if I click start, I think it knows how to make everything. It looks like it totally does. And if I click craft, we should start to see things kicking into gear. We should see stuff getting made, and hopefully it just works. It totally did. Look at that. It was actually very fast at it as well. We have 8 mining drones. Nice. So if we take these over to here, these are going to have to go in this side, like that. And I'm hopeful that we should now see this working. It is. It doesn't have enough energy. That's because up at the top here, it defaults to like 1,000 being the amount you can pump in. We want to change that to 5,000 because that's how much it needs. At that point, it's also quite possible that we just might start running out of power. But it is working. We get lead, and then we're going to start getting other stuff as well. And actually, it looks like we get it in bulk sometimes, which is very nice indeed. So 2 things that we need to do here. We need to get an item exporter, and we need to put that down here. This guy is, of course, going to be connected to cable, and we're going to tell him to export the robots. And you'll see the robots don't really get used that often. As I mentioned before, it's a 1 in 20, so hopefully we don't have to make too many of these, and hopefully we're not auto-crafting them all of the time. But we're going to tell the system to export just this item, and we're going to say craft is true, because that should keep crafting them until this is full. And of course, we do want to make sure that is connected back up to our main line. Might as well do that up like so. And then the final step, I guess, is to put 2 more item storage interface doodads onto here and here. And that's basically going to give the system access to the ores inside of it. And then what we're going to do then is get like 6 more item exporters and go and put those item exporters on the storage drawers that are currently holding our ores. So let's get rid of you. And let's see, can we get... I'll make 2 more like of these, just so that we have enough. And then item exporter. So now we're going to make 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of those. And over here, we want to put 1 item exporter onto each one of these storage drawers. And then we're just going to configure them to receive those ores, right? And so basically, when I put an item card into this exporter and tell it to export copper ore, it's going to check the system, it's going to see that it has copper ore over there, and it's going to start exporting it to this crusher. It's also going to start slowly but surely working through the massive backlog of copper ore that we've managed to get in the system as well. I keep having to put copper ore in because we just had so much of it hanging around, and so hopefully that's going to slowly but surely get worked through as well. And once all these are connected and configured, we should have fully automated ore processing. At that point, the limiting factor, I think, is going to be the aerothium. Okay, so I've done the first 4 here. I've done the aluminum, the iron, the copper, and I guess the first 3, actually. So in here, we have the variable card for items. Of course, over here, we're doing gold and silver, and over here, we're doing platinum and lead. So it's the same idea. I think I showed this before, but you want to go list this time and make sure that's set to items, like that. And then we're going to add silver and add gold. And then you can kind of flick between these and see that we've now got a list of silver and gold. And then we're going to put that in this one here. It goes in a different spot. It goes in export items as opposed to export item. And that should export both of those from the system. And so this gold ore and the silver ore that we have should get exported down into that drawer. And then the same is true for the platinum and the lead as well. Both of those are going to get added to a list. So list might be easier to go backwards. Yep, it is. Items, add platinum, add lead, and encode. Nice. And then we add that to the export items tab, and that should get exported. People are raising concerns that it's possible stuff might get sent here. I don't think it's going to. Like before when we had the the interface on the drawer by the chest, items were getting sent there instead of going to other chests. I assume that you can't pump into an item output. I could be wrong on that. We'll see if that is the case. But for now, this is working. The Twitch chat does make a good point in that I'm fairly certain we can replace the gearboxes on these machines with either speed or energy upgrades. And given the energy cost of this thing, the fact that it costs 5,000 redstone blocks per tick, I think 2 energy upgrades here, which is 4 redstone blocks, is going to be well worth it. If we can get 2 energy upgrades, that's going to reduce the power usage to like 1,250, which is a massive reduction in power usage, especially when we're just barely producing over 10,000 hours per tick. Being able to save, 4,000 is pretty big. All right, a quick disconnect and reconnect, and this is now working just fine. Let me go back over to here. I think the structure, yeah, that works completely fine as well, and should be good. And I think if we were to lower the amount here, we don't need to, like it won't take any more than it needs. But if I was to lower this to like 1,250, I think this should still be getting the power it needs and shouldn't be losing power. It's not. Nice. And we might as well do the same over here as well. I don't think this one is anywhere near as expensive. It's not, but we can save 750 redstone flux by just getting 2 more of these energy upgrades, and so I feel like we might as well. All right, so that is connected, and the Twitch chat has pointed out that I did not connect up my cable over here. We ran the cable over, but it's not connected to anything, and so right now, yeah, this actually doesn't connect at all. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to run it up through the center like this for symmetry. Now these should all be connected, and now if we type in ore, we should see basically, yeah, all of the ores have been taken and not tin, nickel, uranium, and thorium. So all of the ores have been taken, and I assume that over here, the ores should all be gone out of the back of this as well. Yeah, they're all getting taken slowly but surely. The nether quartz is an interesting one. We probably want to get like a drawer and set that to export nether quartz, because otherwise that nether quartz is just going to back up in that system, and eventually it's going to stop the infinity miner from working if all of the output slots are filled with nether quartz. So what I'm thinking is if we do this, did I just kind of trim that with lead ore? I think I might have done. If we get the normal one and we put this down somewhere around here, I'm not entirely certain where I necessarily want to put it. We just have to put it somewhere that we can put an item interface down. Oh, you know what? We could put it in one of these drawers, actually, right? Instead of doing this, if we just take the nether quartz that we have and we put it in like here, I think what we could then potentially do is just put an exporter down, an item exporter that is, onto the drawer controller. And then if I do this and get a variable card real quick for nether quartz, I think that's going to work just fine. Of course, I do have to have some nether quartz in order for that to work. So let's do this. And in here, we're going to go back to item, select nether quartz, and encode. And yeah, if we set that to export nether quartz, I'm hopeful that's going to take the nether quartz from that miner and pump it all into here. And we probably also want to put a void upgrade on there. Again, just to make sure that at some point in the future, if we do manage to fill up on 2048 nether quartz, that all of the nether quartz doesn't just block up the infinity miner. We want to make sure that everything keeps chugging along at full speed. And so now the problem that we're running into is that we don't actually have tin and nickel ore processing. And so I think what I will probably do between streams is set up another ore processing line here as a dual ore processing line for nickel and tin. Not only is that going to finally get us nickel online and allow us to automate things like Invar that we've not been able to automate up until now because of that lack of nickel automation, but it's also going to make sure that our utility research keeps coming in, because right now we need the tin gold alloy to make, I think it's the energized glowstone ingot, the aluminum, but right now obviously we don't have any tin coming in, and so we're not making that automatically, which is not ideal. So yeah, between streams, I'm going to go ahead and set that up. We will hopefully come back to 64 lots of 8x mechanics research, and so we can start working our way through the oil processing and seeing if we can't get some plastic automated as well, and I guess kind of just generally pushing towards the next tier of research, the chemical research, which is then going to kind of unlock this nuclear age for us with some of the nuclear craft ores like the thorium and the uranium. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this episode of Feed the Factory there.